click.
Okay, so I had it open already.
Okay.
So let me backtrack to where I was. So click on the damage done tab.
Okay.
Looks like you're under summary right now.
Yeah, I'm under damage done now.
Okay. So I just clicked on, if you go to all enemies, you can click through all of the enemies, see who did more damage to what.
Okay. So let's pick one, like Arcane Aberration.
Yeah. So let's go to Arcane Aberration. Again, so the kind of teal coloring means that that's from a pet. So that's SCF right there.
Okay.
Then the actual jade bar would be the amount of damage that you're doing.
Okay.
If you hover over it, it actually shows you like what your top ability was on whatever it was.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay. So we looked at like Ivy, for example, who had that basically says that he was on that full time, whereas
yeah, he switched over to hit the mob, whereas I just said, "Go, my minion."
Right.
Which is what everyone does, basically.
Right.
So
it's what lazy monks do.
It's what monks do.
Yep.
Okay. So the other thing is the casts tab. It's the very end, right next to resources.
Got it.
If you click on it, it's like, holy cow, this is like the best thing ever. I actually discovered it today because I don't really look at logs that in depth. So, of course, you want to...
Thanks.
Under all friendlies, just click on his name. And you can see basically every cast that he does. If you click on Safer Jab, if I click on the plus symbol right there, it shows me every time he casts Jab, which is quite a lot.
He tends to jab a lot, yep.
He does jab a lot. So okay.
Makes me think of Jabberwocky.
Yeah, a Jabberwocky. So, okay, let me see if I can backtrack to how I figured out that he was casting stuff. So, if you click on all targets, you'll get a little drop down, NPC. Let's click on Gorian Reaver.
Okay.
Let's click on the plus sign. Let's do Storm, Earth, and Fire. So you can see that go out on it. And then click on Jab. And you can see him basically hitting the Gorian Reaver.
Yeah.
If you click on, I think it was Events. No, it's not Events. Okay. Cast on Target. There it is. So at the very top, you'll see it's kind of hard to find. Cast by Source, Cast by Spell, Cast on Target.
Yeah.
Click on that, and let's see. To go back and backtrack all of this stuff. Okay, sorry. I should have had all of this set up already, and I didn't. Okay, but there's totally a way to do it so that you can actually look at what he cast on it. So, okay. So I'm on Cast on Target. I click Daikatsu, all targets, NPC, Gorian Reaver. Yeah, there you go. You can see him cast everything on Gorian Reaver, including Storm, Earth, and Fire, right there.
Yep.
Don't do that. It's bad.
Right. Don't do... Okay. So, first Storm, Earth, and Fire, then Jab, no.
Yep.
Correct.
Got it.
Just
in your
stay on
defense,
the
there was
box.
a good 30 seconds in between those, though.
Yeah, there was. There was a bit of time. So it's almost like you just kind of accidentally targeted and started casting.
He probably just forgot to pull his clone off.
Yeah, the other thing is you can click on events, and it'll show you too. For example, I'm looking at it says, Daikatsu cast Storm, Earth, and Fire on Gorian Reaver. Daikatsu cast Jab, Jab, Rising Sun Kick, Jab, checks. So that's actually pretty helpful. That's how I tracked down the Arcane Aberration, since Kira made it nice and numbered everything. It's wonderful. But
okay.
Here's the other nice pane. And I can go completely in depth with you and show you, what you did wrong and all of your casts and all that. Click on the problems pane. This is basically the lazy way of looking at what else did you do wrong. So just let me know when you're there.
I'm there.
All right.
Okay.
So the first thing I see is potions used. You used one potion. Okay, so either you didn't pre-pot or you didn't use your second potion. So what I can do is...
Probably the latter.
Yep, that's what I figured it out. If you go to Analyze and Buffs, You'll see a couple of issues here. First of all, your RSK falling off. I do have a note about that.
Oh, yeah.
But you can also see Drainic Agility Potion. Yep, I see a pre-pot, no second pot at all. So, back on problems.
I'm not seeing Rising Sun Kick here. What's going on?
Oh, it's under debuffs. Sorry.
Oh, that's a debuff. That's right.
Yep, my bad. Debuff, and then it would be on the boss itself.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the other way you could do that is by hold on, no, that doesn't actually get it to me. Why not? Grr.
Yeah. So if you go under debuffs, click on enemies, all enemies, and then on the second one, all sources, click on Daikatsu, and you can see his Rising Sun Kick debuff is basically speaking to us in Morse code.
Right, 75% uptime. Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So
Anyway,
Need
back
to
to-
make that weak aura bigger.
Yes.
Yeah. So then the other thing here is that it shows you all the avoidable damage that you used, as well as the fact that you didn't use a healing tonic. In fact, only 2 people used healing tonics, so shame on all of you.
No, we were just
Putting
so
pressure
awesome
on
we
the
didn't need them.
healers. Putting pressure on the healers, nonetheless.
Yes.
So, Kira made it really nice. I'm not going to go into in depth of everything that happened wrong or anything like that. But the nice thing is he gives you kind of an explanation of, this is what the ability is, this is why this is in the problem pane, and this is what it means. For example, destructive resonance is from the mines.
Right.
So the first thing you see is, oh god, everyone got hit by this. This is awful, until you see, okay, these are the people who triggered the mines. This is how many they triggered. And then, of course, you kind of go down and you can just basically see everything. I don't feel that I need to give a full description of what's
Right.
going on
This
here.
is pretty
Force Nova, for example.
self-explanatory, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the problem stab is one you definitely want to take a look at if you're trying to figure out what you did wrong. So
Oh, definitely.
yeah. So one
Yep.
thing I do want to ask is, like, okay, so I'm looking at my logs. So I think I'm doing okay, but when I look at my rankings, I'm only in the 40th percentile.
Okay.
So
So
what can I look at to see what I can improve?
basically what I tend to do kind of as a high-level player is I get other monks' logs. I look at their uptimes on buffs. This is actually a good segue into the replay tab, because this is like the coolest thing. Oh gosh, I was playing with it all day today, actually.
It really is.
So with replay, and if you guys were in IRC, I was like, oh my gosh, it even shows you where your Storm, Earth, and Fire are. You can see it pooping out little Storm, Earth, and Fires from around the ad. This is kind of where it is, because if you select a player, hit play, it'll actually show you every single cast that the player is doing at that second, what their target is. If you select pets, it'll even show you what their Storm, Earth, and Fire are on, where they're standing, because it'll actually highlight where they are with kind of a darker border. In other words, this is awesome. This is like watching combat logs for the lazy. If you're just sitting there at work one day and trying to figure out, hey, why is Desco doing like 20% more damage than me? Okay, he's doing this. This is what his health is at. These are whenever he's casting his Tiger Eye Brew, things like that. So, like I said, it's basically log reading for the lazy, and personally, it's one of my most favorite features at this point.
I found the Guardian Reaver. Let me see if I can find where you did Storm, Earth, and Fire.
Yeah.
Live on Twitch. Duke
Yep.
screws up.
Yeah, I think my favorite part at the bottom, if you click on pets, because pets aren't turned on since it is a little bit heavier. I think it was around
All
5
them green
minutes.
triangles.
Yeah.
It was 5:52, I think you said.
Yeah, 5:52 is like my most favorite part, because you can see all the monks cast Storm, Earth, and Fire around this little brown diamond, and it's like it's pooping them all out, and they're just like following it around. I'm like, that's the part of the raid that's the most fun, because you just see all these clones running everywhere.
Just it's all the little triangles chasing this guy around. That's hilarious.
Yep, you can see them just like jump out, and there was one other point too that I saw, that you were actually chasing a single arcane remnant while everyone else is like hovering around the two that are right here and being cleaved down and stuff. So I
Everyone's
think it's great.
DPSing the boss. Duke's chasing butterflies.
But it even shows you things like whether or not your Tiger Power is up, whether or not you have Tiger Eye Brew up. Like, I'm watching it right now. I just saw you overwrite a Tiger Eye Brew buff. I can see how many stacks you're at. I can see you pop it. I can even see you. I can see you get Tiger Strikes too right now. I can see your weapon enchants. It's basically like watching it through your eyes, even if you aren't streaming. And this is basically why all the high-end guilds are making all their logs private now.
Because you can see everything they do.
Yep.
See,
yep.
This
So
must have been
really
6 minutes into the fight. Yeah, okay, there's all those runs.
Yeah, so if you ever have any questions, hey, what is this guy doing differently than me in this phase? Replay is your best bet, is to find where that certain ad or whatever comes out in the fight and look at what they're doing, where their clone is, where their positioning is, even, what they're casting right at that moment. The only downside is you can't see how much chi you have, but analysis actually has that for you, because with analysis is where I see that you're actually not wasting a lot of chi, and that's good. It's very common for monks to waste chi, I've noticed. So if you go back to Analyze and Resources, right now I have all enemies and resources, but switch it back to Friendlies.
Okay.
Select Daikatsu. I think we're breaking Warcraft logs right now because it's being a little bit slow on my end.
It's doing all sorts of weird stuff.
Oh yeah, I just killed
We
the
broke
site.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think site
Alright,
is
so.
now broken. Alright, I think it might be a good time to switch on over to Zoopercat then.
You chase
Yeah.
too many
Yeah,
butterflies.
too many butterflies.
All them butterflies.
Alright.
The worst part is my raid leader is in the chat right now. I'm sure he's taking notes to use Tuesday.
Oh, actually I got resources to load just now.
Okay.
So I have Daikatsu up under Friendlies. Under hit points, I just select chi. And here's where I could tell that you weren't pooling your chi at all. I see a handful of points where you're getting to 5 chi, which honestly you should be able to get to 6 chi on this because you're using chi explosion. So you should be spec Ascension. So I see that you're down, I would say upon average you're around 3 chi, which, to be honest, what I usually do for Imperator is that I save up my chi for those kind of burst phases whenever you have the add up, whenever you're trying to scumbag with chi explosion, because that way you're getting 4 chis off, whenever it's actually hitting something else and splashing onto it. The other good one to look at is energy. So swap it to energy and I can see where you're energy capping. The beauty of Imperator Margok is there's always something to hit. You can either CJL the boss, you can use Expel Harm to build chi if you want to, or of course, you have Jab or SCK. So I see that you aren't always fully taking advantage of that, so I do see a few cases where you're energy capping.
Okay.
But the good news is it looks like under Energizing Brew you didn't waste any, but that could also be a little bit buggy. I don't know how he has that implemented right now.
So the one thing I'm doing well, it might be buggy.
Right.
To be fair, chi waste was actually a little bit buggy because he had Windwalker set to 4 chi for a while. I'm like, no, we have 5 chi base now.
Okay, so I have a
6
question about WCL. I'm derping right on live broadcast. So I zoomed into a portion of it. How do I unzoom?
Let me look.
So underneath where it says all faces up along the top,
Oh, reset.
you'll see.
There we go.
Yeah.
Never mind. Derp.
No worries. That's actually copy. I remember that from, what's it called? World of Logs, and it was so horrible to use at that.
Yeah, I really like that you can zoom in and take a look at particular times. It's nice.
Yep. Especially having the automagic zooming.
Right.
So let's see what's going on with Ask Mr. Robot. Let's switch over to that now. And Zoopercat, now it's your turn to treat me like a punching bag.
All right. Well, you're in luck because I am not a monk expert like Kelly. So I'll just be like, hey, there's some pretty pictures here. Let's take a look. So the link you're starting from is the picture with all the bosses, right?
Right.
Let me see. Yes. Okay. So first of all, a shout out to that artist. That's Cadistra at Cadistra on Twitter. She did an amazing job. Anyway, I love to give her
So cute.
as much
want
credit
a
as I
plushie
can.
Texas
So
that looks like
what you
that.
can see, can you just? I know, right?
I
So do you
think this
see
is a
towards the
cute-
top where you can select a player?
Yep, I selected Daikatsu
Okay,
here, and I see
perfect.
that he did crap on Brackenspore.
So what I really like about this view
Frickin'
is
suck.
you can quickly see, like very quickly see how you did and how your team did.
So we're
With the two
really,
numbers
really
on the right, with
solid
the bars
on
that roll in.
Butcher
So if you want, we can look at the.
And Twin Ogron, imagine that. Monks are good at Twin Ogron.
But I did better than the raid.
You did.
And we can look at this. We can look at the same boss if you want, or we can look at a different boss. It's up to you.
Yeah, let's take a look at Imperator.
Okay, so if we look at Imperator, so the first thing you'll end up seeing is all of the icons across the top, and this gives you a really nice, fast, look at how you did, right? So if you see something like Force Nova, it's green. It looks like it's filled in 75% of the way. If you mouse over it, you can see your score, which is 7.4, which is about 75%. So what you can really do with this is focus on what you didn't do well on. And for us, when we were working on Margok, we were having a really hard time, and we thought everyone needed to work on the arcane wraths. And we came back here and we looked, and it's like, oh, well, compared to the average, we're actually doing really great, so maybe that's not our problem. So all of these scores are comparing you to all of the data we have. So on successful kills. So basically, if you're getting, a 50% rating, that means you're doing what most people are doing who kill the boss. So even if you get like a score of 10, or sorry, like a 10% or a score of 1, you're like, oh wow, we're doing horrible. Keep in mind, you're still doing better than 10% of people who killed the boss.
Right.
So that's kind of where we're showing you where the bar is set, right? So that was one of our big things we wanted to do.
Metric. I'm doing 10%
So, yeah, we
better than people who killed the boss, but no.
But you're still doing better than people who killed the boss. Or if you're in, so 50% is actually a good score. We've all been trained, 50% is fail, right? Like in schools and stuff. But here 50% is saying you're at the top of that, you're in the middle of that bell curve, right in the top part. So you're doing what most people are doing, and then any deviation from that is saying you're doing something right or you're doing something wrong, compared to people who are killing things. Because we all know, you should, we were talking about Darmak, we all know you should avoid the spears. And every guide tells you to avoid the spears, but you don't really know how well you have to do at avoiding the spears as a team. And so that's kind of what this data is telling you. So if you can mouse over the avoidable damage circle, and then you see it'll expand and it shows you all of the different scores you get for each of the avoidable damage mechanics. And you can click to any one of those and go right through it. But if you don't click, we can just start scrolling from the top, and you can see how well you played. So I'm going to have Mr. Robot tell you how well you played, because I don't really know much about monks. So if you see the section that says how much damage did we do, and there's a yellow square or yellow circle. I can't talk, none of us can talk. And it says you averaged 19,000 DPS. Your raid averaged 17,000 DPS, and then if you go to the far right, it shows how much your top 5 DPSers did. So it's just a nice kind of summary of your team. And then if you scroll down, you see the percentile. So you were actually at the 49th percentile. That's not taking anything else into account. It's not taking out into account spec
Straight
or gear.
damage, yeah.
Yep. And then your raid was at 33%, so you're outperforming the average person in the raid. And again, to the right, you can see more data. If you wanted to be better than 75% of the people who kill this boss, you'd have to be doing 22,000 DPS. So you can kind of see how far off you are, which is cool, because you're like, well, if I do another 2,000 DPS, is that good? Or what are the top people doing? And so that's kind of a nice little metric. Then here, the poor Daigatsu's 6%. What this is showing is how well you did for dual windwalkers, so your spec and your exact item level. This is actually new as of last week. We started doing it by item level instead of buckets. So, because what was happening with the buckets is like, I'd be like, well, I'm at the bottom of the bucket, so the fact that I'm only healing at 20%, I'm going to just discount it, right? So we changed it so that nobody had excuses anymore. So 6%. This is where Callie helps on what you need to do better. And this is where our new, we talked about where we're going to go. We want to kind of take this metric right here and basically give you a link and be like, so what can you do better? And like automatically help you do that. So there's that. And then, you can keep scrolling and look at, some of the things. If you want to click, at the ads at the top, there's a little ads button, the circle, you can click there. And, earlier we were talking about some ads, in Dharmak and how long they live. We measure each ad separately. Most often it's time to live, but in some cases it's a strategy where you might actually let them stay up on purpose because you're focusing on other things, and so then we measure it by something else. So if you are looking, your monks and you have to do special stuff, there's a lot of ramp-up time, right, to damage a lot of the ads. Mm-hmm. You can come here and you can see, well, how quickly is my team killing the ads? And use that as a gauge of, how maybe you should play, right? Like if the ads are staying up for 30 seconds, that's enough time to ramp up. If they're staying up for 10 or 15 seconds and that's not enough time, you can kind of gauge how you should play based on this data. And yeah, so that's basically what we do. We just try to take all of the data and aggregate it and just help you in these views. And then we also have a data view. So if you click any of the go to top, back to top links on the left, or just scroll all the way to the top, you see where the big infographic word is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To the left is data. So click on data.
We had a lot of people die.
There was a lot of people. Jeez, this was a kill too, wasn't it?
It's marked as white for some reason.
Is it? Let me see.
Yeah, I switched it over to the kill.
Oh, did you move it to the kill one? Okay. Oh yeah, because before on the infographic we were probably looking at all of them.
Right.
All of your attempts. You can look at just one attempt on it if you want. Let's see. So let's look at the kill here. Yeah. So here's the data view. This is we still took a slightly approach, but it's much more similar to like the traditional sites, like World of Logs and Warcraft logs. You get the bars and you get all the numbers. On the left, you can mouse over the rank, which shows your percentile, and you can get data like all the different stuff, like how you did overall and how you did for your item level and how you did for your item level and spec. One fun thing that we do is if you select like just click on a user, like any of these players, you could click on Daikatsu here.
Just pick on
all right, and do you see at the top, you see his name, right? Mm-hmm. And then directly to the right, you see the View Gear, Talents, and Glyphs button. Right. So you can click on that, and we gather, at the start of every poll, we gather all of your gear, talents, and glyphs. And so, because a lot of times you'll win.
Holy cow.
I know, it's like a sneaky little thing. I know, I have to like, if people don't know it's there, it's actually good feedback because then it's something we'll either change the layout or...
Pretty amazing.
Yeah, because you might be switching talents between things, and we're also tracking all of this data. And this is one of the things we want to do to like in our compare thing. We'll be able to say, hey, you know what? A lot of monks who are doing really well are using this talent. So we'll be able to, since we gather all of this data, we'll be able to kind of help you out. And it's really nice for when you're helping other people too. You can look at it and be like, oh, what talents were you using on this poll, and try to figure out how people are doing. And so, you clicked and there's more data here. You can click on any single spell. You can, really, really dive down into it, just like, Warcraft logs. One view, another thing a lot of people aren't familiar with, do you see there's, at the top it says damage, and then to the left there are two green buttons. One looks like it's like a paragraph and one looks like a graph.
Right.
Yep, click the graph one.
Okay.
And so, here's where we have the different graphing options. You can choose a spell. Like, I don't know what spell would be good for you to look at. You're a monk. Pick your favorite spell.
All right. Let's take a look at Jab.
Jab. Well, jab looks like you use that a lot. So it shows up as vertical lines. And then if you scroll down a little bit, you can also put energy and chi in those. And then at the very bottom, you can turn on any buffs. So you can see like where the buffs might overlap. So, very similar, Warcraft Logs has a lot of cool graphing. So it's very similar. It's just a button that a lot of people don't know exists. So it's
okay,
but it's fun to look at, right? Who doesn't like graphs?
That is really cool. So you can see your Tiger Power Up time easily. So unfortunately, Rising Sun Kick debuff isn't on here because that's a debuff.
Oh, I see, because it's showing up as a debuff. I see.
Right, it's a debuff on the target.
Yep,
Right, I will have to talk to our
That's the same thing with
developer.
the Warcraft Logs. So
Right, you go to the debuff section. I'll talk to a developer. We can probably get a special, special code it.
Yeah.
Special monk only.
Special monk only stuff. They're so special.
Our unique little snowflakes here.
Yeah, and so, you can look at like any of this stuff for any player at the top. It's easy to switch players. So basically, that's what we do. We have had this data view live since like last year, March, I think. And the infographics are new with basically BlackRock Foundry, and the infographics are what we really wanted to like help people with, because it's really helping the team right now as well as an individual player, but it's mostly focused on the team. How are you doing? How are you avoiding spears? How is any individual person doing on any mechanic? And so then our next feature is kind of helping you figure out how to play better without having to look at all of these views and these graphs. We want to do it for you. It's no small feat. So it'll take a few weeks.
What is this red line that's going in and out? Is that just his damage? His DPS?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So the squiggly line, yep, that's the damage
Okay.
that he was doing. And then the vertical brown lines that showed up are the jab, and you can switch that to any spell and stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And see, so a lot of times it's fun to look at how spell usage overlapped with trinket procs or, different buffs you're supposed to use. So yeah, that's what we have, and that's the start of what we have. The infographics are a big exciting thing right now.
This whole data thing is really cool. I had no idea this was here.
Yeah, I mean it's yeah, exactly. But we also didn't really promote it, because there's already sites that do a good job with data, and this is also another data view, right? Like a lot of this stuff, like we have a different user interface, but it's not adding much that like Warcraft Logs doesn't have, and Warcraft Logs has some cool graphing things that we don't have, right? And so we haven't really pushed that. We want people to know it's there, so if you like something in the infographics and you want to know more, the data view is there. But the real big push was the infographics. Look, we never wanted to be another log site. We wanted to build something different from ground up to solve the problems we have. Like, we used to run a high-end raid team. Used to. Like
Lots of people used to.
Used to. Now we're, a little more casual, 3 of 10, heroic, BlackRock. But, we wanted to build something that, because we would look at, World of Logs back in the day, and we would have to do all of the work and help people figure out how to improve, because a lot of people either didn't know how to use them or didn't want to use them. And so that's the problem we're trying to solve. We're trying to be like, well, no, in 2 minutes, like, you saw when you loaded Margok, in like 30 seconds, you knew what you were good at and not good at based on the colored lines.
Right.
And so that's kind of what we want to do to help players improve their character play as well, not just the team fights. So that's kind of has been our approach. So yeah, we're pretty excited.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So one thing I did notice was on there, I was looking at the infographics, and then you had comparison, and that's something you guys are working on, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. Do you have any ETA on that, or?
We're hoping a few weeks, but you never know. My developer might be like, "What?"
Right.
But sooner rather than later. It took us we launched the data view of the logs in like March of last year, and then it was pretty quiet until the infographics came out like 3 weeks ago. And that's just because we were testing so much on the back end, being like, is this going to work? Nope, scrap that. Is this going to work? Nope, scrap that. But now that that's out, it's like all of our time is being spent on developing new cool stuff, and those, it's like, every week you're getting a major milestone done. Like this week we just relaunched now called the Team Optimizer, formerly known as RoboConsole, if anybody was familiar with that, where it takes your entire raid team, and when loot drops, it tells you how big of an upgrade it is for each person in the team. And so it kind of like helps you figure out, like, is this weapon a 10% upgrade for somebody and a 1% for somebody else? Is that going to change your loot decision? Or is it a 3% upgrade for both people, and have at it, right? So we just did that in a week. And then now we're working on the comparison stuff.
Okay. Yeah, the comparison
so
stuff.
So it shouldn't be long.
Now, the comparison stuff, the last time you were on the show, you mentioned a feature you guys were working on. I'm hoping this is part of the comparison, where you're looking at yourself and you're saying, well, okay, it says I'm on the 10th percentile of monks at 666 item level for this amount. That's when it's going to say, I can click in and say, well, people who are parsing way higher than you are using these talents and you're not. Is it going to do something like that?
Yeah, so the first stage is we will find the logs for you to compare to. Because nobody's done that before, right? It's like you have all these this log data, and it's like, just help me find somebody. And right now, what do? You go to the top ranked people, right? And you find their logs. And so what this is going to do is say, well, we know your item level, we know your gear, we know so much data about you. We can find you people to compare to. And what we're going to do is take, we have some tricks, like we'll take the top 5% out, because we're going to assume the top 5% are either cheesing it or got a lot of lucky crits, right? So we'll just take the 95th percentile. Those are still going to be good people, or maybe the 97th, right? And we can be like, hey, here's 10 people to compare you to. And then we'll do the automatic comparison like you were saying, right? It's like, hey, they're using these talents, and it's on a per fight basis, right? So sometimes, like you guys know, certain talents are better for different fights.
Right.
And show you all of this data, or show you, here's how the spell usage is breaking down, or where things overlap and shouldn't overlap. And yeah, so we really want to do that automatically for you, so that you don't have to necessarily be an expert, because we all know, like, most raiders, unless we're all really high-end mythic, are not doing as much research on their class as the raid leaders would like. And so this is going to help you, right? It's going to be like, well, hold on, Mr. Robot knows all of your data. We can just help you and tell you without you having to do all that research. And then, of course, since we're really big on, like, supporting other sites and we don't make content ourselves, we'll have links in there that say, all right, we told you about, found the differences for you. But here are some guides, here are some podcasts, episodes to listen to. Here are some things, if you want to know a little bit more, go read up on it. Wink, wink. Right?
Right. All right. Anything else we want to go over, Duke?
I think that pretty much covers it.
All right. That was awesome.
I want to thank both Callie and Super for coming on, showing me how I can improve. Let's not use how I suck. It's how I can improve.
Everything's positive. How you can improve.
Exactly.
That's exactly what we want, because you're taking a look, and Windwalkers have been kind of in a rough spot recently, and so this is going to get a lot better starting tomorrow. But still, if you want to take a look and you're saying, well, okay, I'm not doing as much DPS as I could, what can I do? And I've had this recently where I've gone like, okay, I've got another Windwalker in my team that is doing way better than I am at a lower item level. What am I doing wrong? And these are super useful tools to come and look in and say, okay, well, my Rising Sun kick is going off a cooldown. I'm overriding my Tiger Eye Brew. I'm not hitting Tiger Eye Brew when my trinkets are up. Things like that. And I was just playing around with that, with the charts that you had, and that Ask Mr. Robot has, and I can put up my trinket procs and my Tiger Eye Brew, and I can say, okay, well, I had both of my trinket procs here, and I didn't have Tiger Eye Brew up. That's huge.
Right.
That is a bad mistake.
Yep.
So
right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be
so
fair,
we hope to
too,
be able to
like-
help with that.
Yep, and I'll admit, I can't give Warcraft logs, the proper amount of adoration that it truly deserves. There's so much to it. Like, I could go into pins, I could go into a lot of things. It's a site that I only give you, kind of the surface presentation. It's a site with a lot of depth, but
Yeah. Kira put out
also-
a video about 2 weeks ago, about a 34-minute video talking solely about pins.
yeah.
That I'm sitting on my couch. I have an Apple TV. I put it up on YouTube. I'm sitting on my couch wrapped with attention.
Yeah,
Just go,
pins are amazing. I'm not gonna get into
What?
them here, just
I could-
because you could go watch it, have Professor Kira teach you. But yeah, pins are kind of very similar to the expression editor from World of Logs, except easier.
right.
Yeah.
So definitely,
Yeah,
you know,
and it's
play
really,
with those.
and I can't say enough like how lucky everybody is to have like two sites, you know, that are slightly different focus, like that are both awesome. And Kira develops on stuff super fast. Like
Oh,
you
yeah.
ask him, you know, for stuff, and like he'll get those features up right away. And then, you know, we've got our team of 3 with our one developer, and, you know, same thing. You know, both sites are really fantastic. And, like, I don't think we've had a time where, you know, people have had so many really cool raid tools all at once in a raid tier. So we're pretty excited, and he does amazing work.
Yeah,
Yeah, we say upload to both. It's easy.
Exactly.
Absolutely
I use
upload to
both
both.
sites. How I tend to use things as a raid leader is I look at Ask Mr. Robot first. I start with the infographic, figure out, okay, where are we having problems? Go into that fight and Ask Mr. Robot, play with the graphs, figure out where we're having issues, and then take that info, timestamps, everything, move into Warcraft logs.
Yeah, and even with Warcraft logs, you can even just go to the problems pane,
Right,
and half the
problems is a
time
good
you'll be
spot.
like,
Yep.
okay, this is, you know, pretty cut and dry. This is, you know, how much damage you're taking to this. And if, you know, you're a top whatever raider and maybe it's not in the problems pane yet, you can always go to damage taken and filter that way too.
Yep.
That's actually the one thing that we were looking at with Hans and Franz is, so who's dying to stampers the most actually? Because, oh, you know, this guy over here looks like he's dying 500 times, but it turns out that it was such and such, not the Windwalker, mind you, who was actually dying the most to them.
Yeah, I was really happy when I was looking at my infographic on Ask Mr. Robot and Hands and Friends, and it's like, you're like, did a 7 here. I'm like, I did crap, yes, but you lived.
But you lived, yes.
You didn't get hit by
And that's
anything.
Right, and that's a nice way to look at it. Like, you know, you've got those things at the top, and it's like, God, my DPS is bad. And so many people focus on just DPS, and here you're able to be like, well, my DPS is bad, but I did awesome on everything else. Or if your DPS is bad and you did bad on everything else, it's like, all right, you need to
Right,
get
you
a
have to
little
work
more
across the
practice.
board, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, students, well, now it's